gray wolf, sanctuaries definitely are the only hope to getting these animals recovered. We would love to shut up our shop here and no longer have Mexican gray wolves in captivity one day. It would be our dream come true. My name is Maggie Howell, and I started working here 13 years ago, almost. Wow. I grew up in New York City, and I never really thought about wolves. I love animals, and it really wasn't until my late 20s that I was introduced to wolves and just blown away by the fact that we have these amazing, iconic predators living right here in our country. Here at the Wolf Conservation Center, we have 14 Mexican gray wolves. Hi, Zephyr.
They're very resilient animals. We've brought them to extinction practically and have brought them back. They can do well if just given some space and given some time. But unfortunately, humans and politics always get in the way. My name is Rebecca Bose, and as curator, essentially, I'm the manager of our collections here at the center. The Mexican gray wolf is a critically endangered wolf. It's found in New Mexico and Arizona and northern Mexico. There were 7 of them left on the planet, which is mind-blowing. So the current population of wolves all come from those few individuals. It's a genetic bottleneck. So everything we do in captivity directly impacts the future of the species. The Mexican wolf program banks semen of all the males to preserve their genetics. So there are males that are banked that have been dead for years, and there's obviously a finite number of semen samples from them. We're going to actually do an artificial insemination with semen that we banked in the past.
At one time, we had probably close to 250,000 wolves living from coast to coast, just in the lower 48 states. But then by the time we hit the 1970s, we had just probably a few hundred. Here in our country, we really tried to get rid of most of the predators, just over a century ago. So that included mountain lions, grizzly bears, coyotes, wolves. And really, since then, we've seen just what can happen in the absence of these apex predators.
Take any top predator out of an ecosystem, and everything falls to pieces.
Wolves were wiped out in Yellowstone in the mid-1920s. After that, the elk population exploded. They were overeating, so the habitat was being destroyed, and animals that depended on that habitat, whether it's for food or shelter, they were also leaving the park or just not able to survive there. 70 years later, they returned wolves.
So the elk were forced to move around, and as a result, the plants and the aspens and the trees were able to come back. So then the moose were able to come back, and then the eagles were able to come back, and the beaver, and every little thing, all the way to the little field mouse, came back into balance.
We saw rejuvenation of that landscape. And what we learned is really the value, ecological value that wolves have in that ecosystem.
Go right in between those trees that way. She's currently running to the service pen.
The first year we attempted artificial insemination with some of our Mexican gray wolves. It was not successful. The females did not produce young. It was with Mexican gray wolf F1226, affectionately nicknamed Belle. And she's a proven breeder, she's a wonderful mom, and we hope this year she does have pups come April, and these pups will be genetically different than the pups she already has. And Mexican gray wolves is really a genetic crisis. They're all so interrelated that one disease or one virus could really wipe a whole bunch of them out.
The purpose of doing this with this particular female is to practice the thawing technique of the semen so that in the future we can work with our critical samples where these animals have since passed away.
We're crossing our fingers that some of her pups will actually hear the call of the wild.
So this is the uterus, so you can see a little bit of fluid in there, and that's from our insemination.
We've really been pushing to get more adults and pups released into the wild as soon as possible to rescue that genetic gene pool of the wild population. We celebrate Lobo Week every year. It's always the third week in March. The actual anniversary is March 29th, and that was the day when the first Mexican gray wolves were released into the wild from captivity. And this year marks the 20th anniversary since that first release, so a wild homecoming.
Seeing a wolf in the wild is a gift. People always come here with the question, what if you see a wolf in the wild? With fear in their eyes, and I say, grab your camera.
The Endangered Species Act gave us a chance to right these wrongs, to reintroduce Mexican gray wolves and other carnivores back to their ancestral home in the landscape. And to fail wolves again, really we have no excuse.